The Home Affairs Department says it has systems in place to ensure that illegal miners who've been kicked out of the country do not return back. This comes as the scourge of illegal mining threatens the South African economy. In fact, the department says they make sure that those deported, especially along the Zimbabwean, Mozambique and Lesotho borders, have no opportunity to return, as those areas will be closely monitored through its counter-return operations. For more on this and other issues affecting the department, let's bring in Home Affairs Minister Dr. Motsoaledi, who joins us now via our video link. And Minister, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks as always for making time for Newzroom Afrika. And there are several things over the past few months that have affected the department. Let's begin with illegal mining and what I've just mentioned. You know, incidentally, I perceive that there's still a public debate about whether the illegal mining problem in this country is in fact an illegal migration issue. From the work you've been doing as government, is that your approach to this issue? You know, the fact that we need to make sure that our borders are secure so that we have a chance at defeating illegal mining?
Well, absolutely. That's why we regard it, because all the intelligence and reports show that most of the illegal mining is done by illegal immigrants, especially from Lesotho, of course, and all other countries, but especially from Lesotho. That's what all indications and all our findings are.
Yeah, let me apologize to our viewers. We seem to be losing our connection to you, Minister. Hopefully it holds through. Explain to us, if you can, what this operation then entails, because I'm sure that's also something you've been worried about, that those who you do find and are involved in illegal mining and are able to deport may very well make it back into the country. How are you preventing that from happening?
Yeah, well, you are aware that apart from illegal mining, it has always been a perennial problem for South Africa to deport people via Lindela, a repatriation center, for them to come back, specifically because we did not have a system or a unit in our borders. You are aware that now Parliament has passed the BMA bill. We have got a commissioner of the Border Management Authority with two deputy commissioners and a staff. And on the 14th of July last year, we started deploying border guards. That was not happening before. So they are active and they've been doing a lot of work. And we are planning now, we are busy planning to increase them by 400 and to keep on placing them. What is left now, which is what we are doing and planning, is to try and get them equipment, the tools of the trade, to help them do this work so that when somebody is deported, they don't find it very easy to come back into the country as it was happening before.
Yeah. And from what you're able to gauge so far, will this be an indefinite intervention, or do you reckon there's just a certain period that you need to have this bolstered reinforcement, let's call it, before you can then resume back to whatever we had going on before then?
No, the border guard is forever. The Border Management Authority is a new baby it's regarded as the third law enforcement agency of the country, which is specifically at the borders. On the 5th of October this year, President Ramaphosa is actually going to launch the Border Management Authority officially. Remember, it was only launched through the media, and I went alone to launch the border guards on the 14th of July at Bay Bridge. Now the whole president is coming out to say, you have got South Africa, you have got the third law enforcement unit, which is now working only at the borders and is full time. It's not something that is sporadic like we used to do before it was there, where we'll go out and give you the plan of what's happening over Christmas or New Year, etc. This one now is permanent, it's their job. In the same way as police wake up every day to go to work, the border management people will go to work every time at our borders.
There was an oversight parliamentary committee that went to several illegal mining hotspots in Gauteng over the past weekend. Some of them reckon that the country's laws have gaps which enable illegal mining to flourish in this way. Is that also the view of the Home Affairs Department?
Yes, of course, it is our view, and we believe in Home Affairs already. You are aware, Ayanda, we have already announced that we are overhauling the whole immigration system in order to change specifically the Citizenship Act passed in 1995, the Refugee Act passed in 1998, and the Immigration Act passed in 2002 rather, we are about to release a white paper where we are recommending that all those acts must be repealed and we start them from the beginning in order to meet the challenges that South Africa is facing now.
Absolutely. I mentioned at the beginning of our discussion, Minister, that the department seems to have been very busy because I understand a few days ago you also led a consultative dialogue on the draft marriage bill. Those talks, and you correct me if I'm wrong, happened at Constitution Hill last week. Are you happy with the feedback you've received so far about the bill?
Absolutely. Remember, Ayanda, we went to the Constitutional Hill because that's where everything started 4 years ago. For on the 19th of August, 2019, I was at the Constitutional Hill addressing people about a green paper on marriage to give inputs about what must be in green paper, where we threw everything about proposals which we got from the public. From there, we went on to develop a white paper with their inputs. From now, we are developing a bill, and we're going to consult them for the last time before the bill is released to Parliament. I mean, so that they can start enacting it into a law. And say, yes, we are very happy. And people representing various sectors, from traditional leaders to churches to various men, all of them giving inputs, and not, of course, the here and there, but by and large, they've supported the bill, and we are very happy. The public comments are ending this month. From there, we send it to Cabinet with the incorporated public comments, and then we release it to Parliament so that we pass the bill. It has been a four-year journey to try and develop this marriage, new marriage regime.
Sure. Again, let me apologize to our viewers, Minister. Really, our connection to you isn't the greatest. But how far is this bill hoping to go? I mean, the objective is to recognize all forms of intimate partnerships. But in a country like ours, and I'm sure it's not unique to South Africa, that involves quite a range. I mean, is, for instance, cohabitation something that this bill would also consider? And I mean that in a context where there isn't any formal marriage, but I've been together with my partner. It's known that we're together. Is that something that the government at some stage may recognize if all the amendments as proposed by this bill see the light of day?
I understand this bill is about marriage. It's about people who choose to come out from the woods and marry each other. It's not about anything else. And cohabitation is not marriage. It was raised even at the colloquium. What do you do about life partners? And I told them, the name of the bill is marriage. When we developed the green paper, we're talking marriage. When we developed the white paper, we're talking marriage. This bill is about marriage, and it's not outside of marriage. It's about those two people who agreed that we are going to stay with each other. Whether they are of opposite sex or of the same sex, they've decided that we are coming out openly and legally to stay with each other. Anybody who wants to do it otherwise might have to wait for another bill or another regime, but this one regime we're passing is strictly about marriage, and I want people to understand that difference. Yeah. I can't say I'm making a bill about marriage and then somebody comes and say, but what about those who don't want to get married? I mean, it's clear that will be covered by something else, but not this particular one.
I suppose that's coming from the perspective of those who've seen this as a bill that's trying to recognize all intimate partnerships. But I hear your point. I mean, it's certainly captured in the name itself.
No, we never said intimate partnership. We specifically said marriage. Marriage bill, marriage green paper, marriage white paper, marriage bill, marriage act. And that's exactly what it's regulating and nothing else.
Sure. Marriage in our country sometimes is ideology laden. In fact, some people argue it's an institution found in the institution, which is the church. How much attention are you giving to that? I mean, South Africa is a secular state, and in many instances, some of these values are enshrined in our constitution. But there are those who come about interacting in these kind of conversations from that particular standpoint. And in many ways, if they're purists, they believe there's only one type of marriage which should be recognized in this country.
Well, I under all these were ideas that were thrown in over the past 4 years. And I personally, when I was addressing people, I said we recognize marriage as, touching on tradition, touching on religion, touching on your beliefs, touching on your ideology, touching on your spirituality, everything. When people get married, they consider this. It even touches on their politics. Some people even bring their political beliefs into marriage. So we tried our best to accommodate that, and we said our guiding principle is as long as it is in terms of the Constitution, there's a principle of equality, there's a principle of non-discrimination, and we'll be happy if those principles are met.
All right, Minister Motsoaledi, thanks very much indeed for your indulgence. Appreciate your time on the AM report. Again, apologies to our viewers. Our connection to the Minister there wasn't great, but hopefully we've been able to capture the main points from what he's been able to share with us.